Today I'm going to be installing some reverse lights on my Ranger here. So all too often I find myself picking up some parts off Craigslist or engines off Craigslist or trailers or whatever I'm doing. It's always at night, and the reverse lights on the truck, they're kind of a joke. So I'm going to be installing some dual little spotlights on here. And while I'm at it, I'm going to be installing the, well, not really installing, but upgrading my hitch receiver to have a 12 volt wire and a reverse signal. So I'll be showing you how I'm going to do all that. So these are the spotlights I'm going to be installing. My neighbor dragged home some old tow truck, so I asked him if I could take some lights off it. He said sure, because you know it's an old pile of crap, probably going to the scrapyard anyway. So I robbed these lights, hooked them up to a battery. They both lit up, so I'm going to be doing these. Now I could just buy some LED lights off, eBay for $8 or whatever they cost and use those. But where's the fun in spending money if you don't have to? So these are my lights. I'll be putting some connectors on the end of the wires and installing a relay and bolting these on. And I'll show you how I'm going to do all that. So I took the taillight apart to see how it was wired. You can see I probed into the black wire with the pink stripe. And when the reverse lights are on, I get my 12 volt signal. With them off, I don't. So all you need to do is tap into that black with pink stripe and then hook that up to a relay I'm going to install. Now, you may not need to install a relay on this if you're using a low draw LED type light. I'm not. I'm using a conventional type spotlight, so I will be installing a relay. But I just figured I'd let you know in case you're not doing that. So I'm going to tap into that wire right up there, run it down through the harness here, and attach it to a relay. So I have myself this cap that's for a fuse body to stick into. So what I was looking for was somewhere where I could attach this to make it look like it's supposed to be there, but there isn't anywhere really where to put it. So what I'll probably wind up doing is drilling a small hole in the firewall under here and just mounting it in right like so. And then I'll use my wire to follow the positive down and go down inside of there somewhere and start working on that. So I'll get started on that and show you how to do it. So somewhere in my collection of junk I found this little guy. This little T thing, so I'll have to drill a hole, but this will slip onto the back of my little fuse cap body and allow it a nice, good place to mount without looking too rigged. So I'll install that and use that for my fuse body, and I'll go ahead and measure the wires, see how long I need to make them. Alright, I just drilled a 1/4 inch hole for my connector body to go into. And that'll sit just like so. You can see, doesn't look too bad. Should have moved it over a little bit to clear that bolt head, but that'll work. So now what I'll do, I'll measure out a wire to follow that positive battery cable and connect to my battery post. Alright, I inserted a wire into the bottom of my fuse connector body, and I'll just follow it around, giving it a little extra slack. This is a 12 gauge GXL, by the way, so that may be a little longer than I need it, but I'll go ahead and snip it right about there, and well, a little more. Yeah, right there should work. So right about where my finger is, and then I'll put on a ring terminal and connect the other terminal to the other side. Alright, I got my wire stripped. I'm going to go ahead and crimp on the first one, and I got my crimper here ready to go. So after I crimp these on, I'll go ahead and solder it. Alright, I got my terminal crimped and soldered. So all I do is kind of pull it in there. There you go. So I pull it in and then put the seal back. And I got one side done, ready to go. So I have some of this expandable braided sleeving. I'm going to slip that over the length of the wire, kind of give it a professional look to it. So I put a piece of heat shrink tubing over the end. Now I still got to connect the ring terminal, but I'll worry about that later. So the wire follows along, goes up, connects to my fuse block here. Now I have this piece of paracord. Now I wanted to use a piece of string or twine or anything you'd find, but apparently all I could find is paracord. So what I have this do is kind of laying where I plan on the wire to go, and I have it drop down into the vehicle. So I'll go under the car and see how long of a wire I need to make. Alright, I got it coming out from under the Ranger here. So what I'll probably wind up doing is going on top of this, on top of the fuel heat shield there, or maybe inside. And probably just inside and zip tie it along the fuel line there, which, granted, isn't a good idea. Well, perhaps I could closer to the brake booster there and follow down the cab. Probably wind up doing that, keep that wire as far as long as I can from the fuel line. not a good idea either. Alright, I have my string following the cab, coming down the body here, through the fuel line, connecting to this harness, following the harness along. It'll loop under the frame just like this one does, come back in, just like that harness, follow that harness down along the gas tank, through the frame. Now, I didn't want to go through the time and effort of getting that under that bracket, the gas tank mount. So, when I actually put the wire in, I'll follow it, of course, but so I'm going to show you how I'm routing it. Again, following the frame with the rest of the harness. The shock bracket there, or brake line bracket, whatever that thing is. Going along, see the little cross member, through the frame, all the way down, and I'll mount my relay up into there where the taillight connector harness is. So all I'm going to do is I'll cut my string right about there, and that's how long I'm going to need my wire. Alright, I got my professional schematic design software open here. So if you'll notice, this image is posted on the side of our relay. On the bottom of the relay, you'll notice all the pins, and each one of those pins is numbered, 85, 30, 87A, and that's where you can kind of tell how to make the connection. So you don't need to be an engineer to figure this out. So I'm going to have a wire coming off our positive battery terminal here, well, fuse, but still coming off the pod as battery, and we'll connect it over to pin number 30. So that'll be where our red's going. Now, for our lights, they're self-grounding, so we only need to worry about one wire. I'm going to make a jump here on our 87 terminal, go over to one light, and the jump is going to go right here and go over to our second light. The relay is going to need a ground, so it doesn't matter really if you go 85 or 86. We'll probably just use 86 here, but we'll make our ground connection. That's supposed to be a negative symbol, but you get the idea. And our 85, we'll probably wind up using a white wire, but for so I can't draw a white line. Connect our reverse signal to our reverse light. So what's going to happen is when you put it in gear, in reverse, this is going to light up and send electricity over to our coil here, pin 85. This will then activate this switch, putting this little bar up, connecting battery power to our lights, and everything will work gloriously. One thing I am going to do also is I'm going to put a splice in right here, another red splice, and connect this over to my trailer light plug. And then on our 85 terminal where I connect this, I'm going to make another jump and have it continue down and go over here. Also to the trailer connector. That will, give me the reverse signal and a 12 volt line on my trailer connector. So, hope you understood that, and I'll get started on my wiring now. So for my light connector ends, I'm just using these old bullet splices. They're quick, easy, universal, and I'll coat the ends in some ink shrink just to make sure that these, should a light never be connected, these don't touch anything ground or metal. Soldered them, soldered all of my connections, but that's the gist of it. So rather than trying to hunt down a ground for the relay, I ran a red and black wire down to the relay pins, ran up here, and connect them straight to the reverse light connector. So, I'll wrap some tape around those splices there, and then tape them back into that harness. This is what my finished product looks like. As you can see, it doesn't look too bad, so now I'll go ahead and put the ball back in, put the taillight back together. Alright, I got a fuse mounted in my fuse holder, little body here, so I'll go ahead and plug that guy into where it's supposed to go. And that'll sit kind of like so. So as you can see from a glance from the engine compartment, you can't really see like anything's been rigged too much in there. I still got to mount the ring terminal down the battery post there. But otherwise, you see the wire? Well, not really, because of that black shielding. It kind of hides its bright redness. But I'll go under and I'll show you the finished result. Alright, so the wire runs down the engine bay into this harness. I've then zip tied it every now and then. See a zip tie there? Runs along, goes up through there, another zip tie, runs along the frame, loops back around. I could probably put another zip tie right there just to get it closer, but I don't really need to. Back to the frame again, back along that harness, and then you can't see it from here on out, but it's running between the gas tank and the frame. And you can't see it in there either. Start to see it again inside of here. There's our zip tie. I'm gonna have to trim that leg. Runs down through the spare tire, and then there's my mess of wires bundled up inside of there. Lights are mounted on the little taillight brackets. The reason I did that is you can see the light, see the spare tire. So if there's ever a problem, those lights won't get in the way of that spare tire coming back out. One thing I did notice using a used light, this base is nice and bent up, so I had to put a huge washer in there to kind of keep it level. Still got a red wire hanging down that I got to connect to the trailer connector and the reverse signal, but I'll do that later because I'm getting lazy. And got this light mounted to this side. And you can see how I do my little quick connects. I kind of ripped this one installing wire. I'll probably fix the heat shrink on that, but that wire runs up along that harness through there, connects into our relay there, and I'll show you the outside. Here's the Ranger. I think it looks pretty good. There they are, nice and lit up now. So I'll see how they look at night, but I think it'll be a huge improvement. Alright, here they are at night. It looks a little better in person than it does on the camera. But they're lighting it up. Probably need to adjust them a little bit. And here it is without lights. So it's pretty dark.